Hello, and welcome back to Speak English Daily.
Hi, everyone. We are very happy to see you here today.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Speak English Daily, your place for real conversations that actually help you think in English, not just study it. I'm Anna.
And I'm Mike, and I need to say this right away. Anna walked into this recording with that look.
What look?
That calm, suspiciously peaceful look, like someone who just had a perfect morning and doesn't want to admit it.
I'm not hiding anything. It was just a nice morning.
See, that's how it starts. Just a nice morning. Next thing you know, you're talking about sunshine, like it changed your life.
It didn't change my life, but it did make it feel softer for a while. I had coffee, it was quiet, no messages, no pressure, and for a few minutes, everything felt easy.
That sounds dangerously close to happiness.
That's the word, right? And it sounds so simple when you say it like that.
Yeah, until someone asks you directly, then suddenly your brain freezes.
Yes, the moment someone says, "What makes you happy?" something shifts. It stops feeling like a small moment and starts feeling like a very big question.
Because now you feel like your answer has to mean something. It has to sound thoughtful, maybe even a little impressive.
Or deep. People feel pressure to say something meaningful, like they're being tested.
When sometimes the honest answer is just, I liked my coffee this morning.
And that should be enough, but we've made happiness feel bigger than it needs to be.
Or heavier, like it has to explain your whole life.
And that's what we're getting into today. What really makes people happy? Not the version you post online, not the version you think you should say, but the one that actually feels real when no one is watching.
The quiet version, the one that doesn't need to prove anything.
And we'll also talk about why this question feels so difficult, even though it sounds easy.
Because it is easy, until you try to answer it honestly.
And as always, we're keeping the English clear and natural. This is a B2 level conversation, so you'll hear richer vocabulary, but nothing you can't follow if you stay relaxed.
You don't need to catch every word. Just stay with the meaning, follow the feeling, and let your understanding grow.
And maybe while you're listening, you can quietly ask yourself the same question.
No pressure, though. We're not turning this into an exam.
No exams today, just a conversation.
And maybe a few unexpected thoughts along the way.
So let's begin with something simple. Mike, if I ask you right now, what makes you happy?
See, there it is, that question. I was fine a second ago.
What changed?
Now it feels like I need a good answer, not just something small.
That reaction says a lot, doesn't it?
It does, because happiness felt clear a minute ago. Then you ask the question, and suddenly it feels complicated.
Because now we're not talking about a moment, we're talking about meaning.
And those are very different things.
So maybe that's where we should start. Happiness is not just one feeling.
Not even close.
Happiness can be excitement, comfort, relief, connection, peace, even a quiet kind of satisfaction that doesn't look dramatic at all.
And that's where people get confused. They hear the word happy and imagine one specific feeling.
Something bright, energetic, almost glowing.
Like you're supposed to walk around smiling all day.
Which sounds exhausting, honestly.
Completely. No one lives like that.
But that image is powerful. It makes people think happiness has to be intense to be real.
And if it's not intense, they start to question it.
Or ignore it.
Which is a mistake, because some of the most real forms of happiness are very quiet.
Sometimes it's just feeling calm.
Or safe.
Or understood.
Or simply not stressed for a while.
And people don't always call that happiness.
They think it's something else.
Yes, they might call it peace or comfort or even just a normal day.
But those feelings matter more than we admit.
And sometimes what people are actually looking for is not happiness in the exciting sense.
It's fulfillment.
That deeper feeling that something in your life is meaningful.
Something that feeds you in a way that lasts longer than a moment.
And that's a different experience from just having fun.
Fun is important, but it doesn't always stay with you.
You can laugh all day and still feel empty later,
And someone else can have a very simple day and feel deeply satisfied.
which shows that happiness has layers.
It changes shape depending on what you need,
And maybe that's why the question feels so difficult.
because we're trying to give one answer to something that isn't just one thing.
A single word is carrying too much weight.
And behind that word are many different needs.
A person might say, I want to be happy, but what they really mean is,
I want to feel calm,
or I want to feel loved,
or I want to feel like my life makes sense.
or even, I just want my mind to be quiet for a while.
That one hits.
It does, because when you look at it like that, happiness stops being a simple emotion,
It becomes something more human, more layered.
and maybe more honest.
So the real question is not just what makes you happy,
It's what do you actually need beneath that word?
and that takes a bit more courage to answer.
It does, but it also makes the answer feel more real.
And maybe a little closer to the truth.
So, if happiness is layered and people are often unsure what they're really looking for, then something interesting happens. They start chasing what looks like happiness from the outside,
Yeah, the shiny version.
the convincing version.
The one that looks good on paper. More money, more recognition, more progress, more signs that you're doing well.
And none of those things are wrong.
Not at all. They can make life easier, more comfortable, sometimes even more exciting.
But the problem is not the things themselves, it's what people expect those things to do for them.
They expect them to fix everything.
Yes, they carry this quiet sentence in their mind. I'll be happy when...
That sentence is everywhere.
I'll be happy when I get that job.
I'll be happy when I earn more.
I'll be happy when people respect me more.
When life finally settles down.
And it feels reasonable in the moment.
It does. It gives you something to move toward.
But it also creates distance between you and your life right now.
Because happiness is always somewhere else.
Always in the future.
And the future keeps moving.
That's the tricky part. You reach one goal, and for a moment it feels good.
You get that small rush.
But then your mind adjusts.
And suddenly it's not enough.
So you create a new version of when.
A new condition for happiness.
And the cycle continues.
It's almost like people don't just want good things. They want those good things to transform their entire emotional world.
To remove doubt, to erase insecurity, to make everything feel complete.
Which is a lot to ask from one achievement.
It's more than a lot. It's unrealistic.
And that's where disappointment starts to grow.
Not because life gave you nothing, but because you expected it to give you everything at once.
I remember a time when I thought getting a certain opportunity would change how I felt about myself.
And did it?
For a few days, I felt amazing, confident, motivated, like I had finally arrived somewhere.
That sounds like a strong moment.
It was, but it didn't last the way I imagined. The doubts came back, the questions came back. Life didn't suddenly become peaceful.
That's such an honest experience.
It taught me something, though. Achievements can lift you, but they don't always hold you.
That's a powerful difference.
Yeah, they give you a moment, not a complete solution.
And maybe that's where people get stuck. They keep chasing moments, hoping one of them will finally stay.
While missing the fact that most moments are not designed to stay.
They come, they soften your day, and then they pass.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
Nothing at all. But when you expect something permanent from something temporary, it creates frustration.
And sometimes even emptiness.
Which brings us to something quieter but much more important.
People.
Yes, because when people talk about their happiest memories, they rarely talk about numbers or achievements.
They talk about moments with someone.
A conversation that made them feel understood.
Someone showing up when they needed it.
A friend who listened without trying to fix everything.
Or just being with someone and feeling like you don't have to pretend.
That feeling is rare, and when it happens, it stays with you.
It does. It has weight.
Because relationships don't just make life busy or interesting, the good ones make life feel supported.
That's where that word comes in, nourishing.
Yes, a nourishing relationship feeds you in a quiet, steady way.
It doesn't drain you, it doesn't confuse you, it doesn't make you question your worth.
It gives you space to breathe.
And to be yourself.
I think a lot of people underestimate how important that is.
Until they don't have it.
That's when the absence becomes very clear.
You can have a full schedule, a lot of activity, even success, and still feel alone.
Because connection is not about being surrounded by people, it's about being seen by someone.
I remember a time when I was very busy, doing well on the outside. Everything looked fine.
But something felt off?
Yes, I had people around me, but I didn't feel close to anyone. Conversations stayed on the surface.
That can feel surprisingly empty.
It does. And then one evening, I had a simple conversation with an old friend.
What changed?
Nothing dramatic. We just talked honestly. No performance, no pretending, and I felt this shift, like something inside me relaxed.
That kind of moment can reset your whole day.
More than a day sometimes.
Because it reminds you what real connection feels like.
And how much you actually need it.
I've had that too. Even a short message from the right person at the right time can change your mood completely.
Those small interactions carry so much emotional weight.
And they don't look impressive from the outside.
No, they don't. No one posts about a simple, honest conversation.
But those are often the moments that stay.
Which says something important. Happiness is not always found in what looks big.
Sometimes it's hidden in what feels real.
And relationships are a big part of that.
Not just having people in your life, but having the right kind of connection.
The kind that feels safe, warm, and steady.
The kind that doesn't require you to be someone else.
And when you have that, even an ordinary day can feel meaningful.
And when you don't, even a successful day can feel incomplete.
That contrast is hard to ignore once you notice it.
It really is.
You know what I've been noticing lately? The moments that stay with me are rarely the big ones.
Same here. It's usually something small that catches me off guard.
Like what?
Yesterday, I stepped outside in the evening, and there was this soft breeze. Nothing special, really, but for a second, my mind just went quiet.
That pause, that's rare.
It is, and it didn't cost anything, didn't require planning, it just happened.
Those are the moments people underestimate. They don't look important while they're happening.
But later, they feel meaningful.
A warm drink when you didn't realize you needed it.
A message from someone who crossed your mind earlier.
A joke that makes you laugh harder than expected.
Or even just sitting somewhere and feeling comfortable in your own thoughts. What's interesting is that none of these moments are dramatic.
They don't announce themselves.
They ask for something else.
Attention.
Yes, and that's where things get difficult.
Because attention is always being pulled somewhere else.
Notifications, deadlines, worries, comparisons, the mind is constantly busy.
So even when a good moment is right in front of you, you might not fully notice it.
Or you notice it, but only halfway.
And then it passes.
That's why people feel like happiness is missing, not because it's not there, but because it's not being seen.
There's this old phrase I've always liked, stop and smell the roses.
Classic, but it still works.
It's simple, but it says something important. Slow down enough to experience what's already good.
Not everything has to be big to matter.
And I think that connects directly to gratitude.
That word gets misunderstood a lot.
Very much. People hear gratitude and think it means pretending everything is perfect.
Or forcing yourself to feel positive when you don't.
Which can feel fake.
Which can even feel a bit frustrating.
But real gratitude is different. It doesn't ignore what's hard.
It just makes space for what's still good.
Even if that good thing is small.
Like having one calm moment in a stressful day.
Or one person who understands you.
Or one part of your life that feels steady.
Gratitude is noticing those things without needing life to be flawless first.
I like that. It feels more honest.
It is. It allows both sides to exist, the difficult parts and the gentle parts.
I had a week recently that was not great.
What happened?
Just a lot of pressure, things not going as planned. I felt tired most of the time. That kind of week can feel heavy.
It did, but one evening I was sitting quietly and I realized even though everything felt messy, there were still a few things holding me together.
Like what?
A friend who checked in, a quiet meal, a moment where I didn't feel rushed.
And noticing that changed something?
It didn't fix the week, but it softened it.
That's a good way to put it.
Gratitude didn't remove the difficulty, but it made it more bearable.
And that's a much more realistic way to look at it.
It is. It feels grounded, not forced.
But this becomes harder the moment comparison enters.
Ah, yes, the mood changer.
The moment you start looking at someone else's life, something shifts.
Even if your day was fine a second ago.
Suddenly it feels less.
Less exciting, less successful, less complete.
And nothing in your life actually changed.
Only your perspective did.
That's what makes comparisons so powerful.
And so dangerous.
Because you're no longer experiencing your life directly.
You're measuring it against someone else's.
And usually, you're not even seeing their full reality.
Just a polished version.
The highlights.
The parts they chose to show.
There's a saying people often repeat, the grass is always greener on the other side.
And it feels true when you're looking from a distance.
Because distance removes the details.
You don't see the problems, the stress, the ordinary struggles.
You just see the surface.
And then your own life starts to feel smaller in comparison.
Even if it's actually full in its own way.
That's why contentment becomes so important.
Contentment is not excitement, it's quieter than that.
It's that feeling of, this is enough for now.
Not perfect, not amazing, but steady.
And steady has value.
A lot of value.
But comparison makes it hard to feel.
Because your mind keeps saying, yes, but look at them.
And that but slowly takes away your sense of enough.
I've noticed that when I spend too much time looking at other people's lives, I feel more restless.
Like something is missing?
Yes, even when nothing is actually missing.
That's the effect of misplaced attention.
So the solution is not to stop caring about life.
It's to protect where your attention goes.
To bring it back to what's real in front of you.
To your own experiences, your own pace, your own moments.
Because a peaceful life is hard to feel when your focus is always somewhere else.
And once you bring your attention back, something shifts again.
Things start to feel more grounded.
More yours.
And maybe that's where contentment quietly returns.
Not as a big emotion, but as a steady presence.
And sometimes that's more than enough.
There's another layer to this that people don't always talk about. The difference between what feels good for a moment and what actually stays with you.
Yeah, pleasure versus something deeper.
Pleasure is easy to recognize.
A good meal, a funny video, a compliment. Those things lift your mood quickly.
They give you that instant boost.
And there's nothing wrong with that. Those moments matter.
They do. They can change the tone of your whole day.
But they don't always last.
That's the key difference. Some feelings are bright, but brief.
Like sparks. Beautiful, but temporary.
And then there are those moments where someone lights up.
I love that expression.
Me too. You can see it happen. Their face changes. Their voice becomes more alive.
Usually when they're talking about something they truly care about.
Or someone they love.
Those moments feel more personal.
More connected to who they are.
But even those moments, as powerful as they are, don't always cover everything.
Right. A person can light up in a conversation and still feel a deeper need underneath.
Because real happiness often asks for more than just stimulation.
It asks for meaning.
For something that feels important beyond the moment.
Something that stays with you after the excitement fades.
That's where purpose comes in.
Not in a big, dramatic sense, but in a quiet, personal way.
A sense that what you're doing matters to you.
It could be your work, your relationships, the way you show up in life.
Even small things can carry meaning.
Like helping someone without being asked.
Or being there for someone consistently.
There's something comforting about feeling useful.
Very much. It gives your presence weight in a good way.
I've noticed that on days when I feel helpful, I also feel more at peace,
That makes sense. You step outside your own thoughts for a while.
and you become part of something bigger than your own worries.
That shift can change how the whole day feels.
It's not loud, but it's steady.
And steady is often what people are really looking for.
Not just excitement, but something they can rely on emotionally.
Which brings us to something people don't always expect. Happiness is not always intense.
Sometimes it's very quiet.
Almost easy to miss if you're only looking for big moments.
People imagine happiness as something dramatic,
Something that looks like celebration.
something like everything suddenly becoming perfect,
But in reality, a lot of happiness looks like calm.
or relief.
Or simply feeling okay in your own space.
There's a word for that kind of feeling.
Serenity.
A deep, peaceful state where things feel settled inside.
Not empty, not boring, just calm in a way that feels safe.
I think many people overlook that because it doesn't look exciting,
It doesn't create a story to tell.
but it creates something more important.
A life that feels livable.
I had a moment like that recently. Nothing special was happening, but I realized I wasn't tense.
That's a big realization.
It is. I wasn't checking my phone. I wasn't worrying about the next thing. I was just there.
And how did that feel?
Light. Not in a dramatic way, just comfortable.
That's the kind of happiness people don't chase enough.
Because it doesn't look impressive from the outside.
But it feels right on the inside.
And maybe that's the shift people need.
To stop looking for something that shines all the time.
And start noticing what quietly supports them.
There's a phrase I've always liked. Happiness is homemade.
That one feels true.
Because so much of happiness is built in small daily ways.
In what you pay attention to.
In how you treat yourself.
In who you stay close to.
In what you allow to matter.
It's not something you suddenly find one day.
It's something you shape over time.
Through choices, habits, and awareness.
And maybe that's why real happiness feels different from what people expect.
Less like winning something.
More like living in a way that fits you.
Not perfectly, but honestly.
And when that happens, something soft appears.
Not loud, not overwhelming.
Just a quiet sense that you're okay where you are.
And maybe that's enough.
Less fireworks.
More warmth.
That feels like a good place to pause.
It really does.
Let's slow things down a little and look at some of the key words we used today.
These are the kinds of words that don't just improve your English, they help you express real thoughts more clearly.
And when you can express something clearly, you understand it better too.
So let's start with our first word, fulfillment.
Fulfillment is a deep feeling of satisfaction that comes from doing something meaningful. It's not just about enjoying a moment, it's about feeling that what you're doing truly matters to you.
For example, she found fulfillment in teaching because she could see how her work helped others grow.
Or, he tried many different jobs, but he only felt fulfillment when he started creating something he believed in.
Repeat, fulfillment.
Fulfillment.
Next, contentment.
Contentment is a quiet feeling of peace and enoughness. It doesn't mean everything is perfect. It means you feel okay with what you have in this moment.
For example, he wasn't rich or famous, but he felt a strong sense of contentment in his simple daily life.
Or she stopped comparing herself to others, and slowly contentment started to return.
Repeat, contentment.
Contentment.
Now let's talk about gratitude.
Gratitude means noticing and appreciating the good things in your life. It doesn't ignore problems, but it allows you to see what is still positive.
For example, even after a long day, she felt gratitude for having a quiet place to rest.
Or he practiced gratitude by writing down 3 small things that went well each day.
Repeat, gratitude.
Gratitude.
Next word, uplifting.
If something is uplifting, it makes you feel lighter, more hopeful, or more positive. It lifts your mood in a gentle way.
For example, that conversation was so uplifting that I felt more motivated afterward.
Or she likes to start her mornings with uplifting music to set the tone for the day.
Repeat, uplifting.
Uplifting.
Our next word is serenity.
Serenity means a deep sense of calm and peace. It's a quiet kind of happiness that doesn't need excitement to feel real.
For example, he felt a sense of serenity while sitting alone in nature.
Or, after a busy week, she finally experienced serenity when everything became still for a moment.
Repeat, serenity.
Serenity.
Now a very gentle word, nourishing.
If something is nourishing, it supports you in a healthy and positive way. It can be physical, emotional, or mental.
For example, she wanted more nourishing relationships, not just more social activity.
Or taking time to rest became a nourishing habit that helped her feel stronger.
Repeat, nourishing.
Nourishing.
Now let's move to our first idiom, stop and smell the roses.
Stop and smell the roses means to slow down and enjoy the small, simple moments in life.
For example, he was always rushing, so his friend reminded him to stop and smell the roses once in a while.
Or during her walk, she decided to stop and smell the roses instead of thinking about work.
Repeat, stop and smell the roses.
Stop and smell the roses.
And now, on cloud 9.
If someone is on cloud 9, they feel extremely happy, almost like they're floating.
For example, she was on cloud 9 after receiving the good news.
Or he looked like he was on cloud 9 when he met his favorite actor.
Repeat, on cloud 9.
On cloud 9.
Now let's look at our first phrasal verb, look forward to.
Look forward to means to feel happy or excited about something in the future.
For example, I always look forward to spending time with my family on weekends.
Or having something small to look forward to can make a busy week feel easier.
Repeat, look forward to.
Look forward to.
And finally, light up.
If someone lights up, their face or energy becomes brighter because they feel happy or excited.
For example, her face lit up when she heard her favorite song.
Or he always lights up when he talks about his childhood memories.
Repeat, light up.
Light up.
And those were today's key words and phrases.
Take care of your English.
And take care of your heart.
This is Anna.
And this is Mike.
You've been listening to Speak English Daily.
See you next time.